Welcome to Kotlin. Today we're covering how you can share a TopAppBar across multiple screens using a scaffold with Compose. This is a useful pattern for building consistent UI across your app, and I'm going to show you two ways to implement it. Although I'll be demonstrating this in a Kotlin Multiplatform project using Compose, the same principles apply if you're building a standalone Android project. The first example is the simpler of the two, and is useful for when standard navigation is needed and each screen has a static title. If you need to add actions to the TopAppBar or want more control of updating the titles dynamically, I'd recommend skipping to the second example. We're aiming to create what you just saw previously. I've set up a basic repository that just hosts a small selection of cats that you can get by ID here. There are two screens available, cat list and cat detail. So we'll start by creating a nav controller, and we need the scaffold which will hold the top bar, and we'll use a large TopAppBar. So inside of here we need the nav host, which will need a start destination, and we'll use the list screen. And inside here we can create the composables for each of the two screens. This one has some arguments passed in, so we need to get those. We need to actually create these screens, so we'll quickly do that, just very basic. So all we need are the cats from the repository, and we'll just create a lazy column that'll just display the names of the cats. And we will make this clickable because we need to click a cat from the list screen to go to the detail. So in here we'll have a go to detail function that's passed through to the list screen, and that simply just forwards the ID, passes it back so that we can control how to get to the detail screen. So that should look okay. And again, all this will have passed through is the ID of the cat. We'll just get it like that, and all we'll display, we'll have a column with a scroll state. We'll use the modifier that's passed through, and we'll apply some horizontal pattern. And here we'll just display the description of the cat. So back to the scaffold. we just need a way of navigating to the detail, so we can just use navcontroller.navigate and pass in an instance of cat detail. That'll take the ID that's passed through this goToDetail function. And for the modifier, we'll use fill max size, and we'll use the inner pattern that's provided by the scaffold. This is just for better edge-to-edge support. And pretty similar for the cat detail screen. The ID will come from the arguments, and we can just use the same modifier. So if I run this now, it should run. We should be able to navigate between the two screens. Yep, but as you see, it's missing the title for the TopAppBar, which is the main purpose of this video. One thing we will add is a scroll behavior to make it collapsible, just so we can better see that it's sharing the toolbar. So we'll use enter always scroll behavior, and we need to remember a state. We'll pass that in, and within the modifier for the scaffold, we can use a nested scroll and pass the connection of the scroll behavior in. So all this is doing is, when it reruns, you can see that if I scroll and it's collapsed on this screen, just so you can better see that it's using the same toolbar. TopAppBar, sorry. So now we actually need to get the title. So what we'll do is create a function, TopAppBar title, and we'll want to pass in a backstack entry. This is just so we know which screen we're on, so we can decide what title to show. We'll return a string. So to start, we'll get the destination. So if this destination is null for whatever reason, there's not a title associated with that. If the destination has a root of screen.catList, so this screen that's currently open, we'll just use cats. If it's detail, we'll just use detail for now. Otherwise, just nothing. So here, we need to get the backstack entry, so we can get that state from the nav controller using current backstack entry as state. Import the extension function and pass it through to here, and this should be everything we need. Yep, so as you see, we've got cats for this screen. When we click through, you can then see detail. Obviously this is quite limiting and can be okay for simpler apps, but normally this needs to be dynamic. So in this case, we might want this to say display the name of the cat, so British Shorthair in this case. So with the way we're doing it here, it can be done. Here we can get the arguments of the screen using destination, no, sorry, the entry to root. So from here we have the ID of the cat. So we can say cat repository dot get by ID and pass in the ID from the arguments, and then return the cat dot name. So this will work, but I'd recommend not doing this just because this isn't you don't really want all of your logic just in a when statement. As you add more screens, this is just going to keep increasing, which is why I'd normally suggest using what I'm about to show you in the second example. But as you can see, this will work and is simple enough. If you want to add the back arrow or the up arrow, that's pretty simple using this method. And just add the navigation icon, and we could say if the backstack entry destination is not if it's not the list screen, then we know that it can always pop back, because it should be able to pop back until you're at the list screen. So we can use this logic, and I'll just quickly type it, but we can add the icon button for the back arrow here. So there's no arrow on the list screen. Once we click in, we have this working arrow, the back button. Okay, so I've copied everything across to this example 2 package from example 1. So we're going to change some things. To start, we'll get rid of this function and this large TopAppBar. We won't be needing that. So within here, we're going to create a content aware TopAppBar. So this will need a nav controller and the scroll behavior. We can make that nullable and opt in. So in here, this is where we're going to now use the large TopAppBar, and inside example 2, we'll now just use the content aware TopAppBar in its place. So we'll give it the scroll behavior and the modifier that's passed through. So we need a way of getting the title here, and to do that we can provide a view model that is used for this. And inside here we'll hold a mutable state of the composable for the title. So we want a composable and its default value will just be an empty block, and we want to equate this by reference. So we'll use referential equality policy here, and we'll import the extension function. So So now we need to get this view model so that we can use this title, use the title that's been added to it. We can start by getting the backstack entry, and nav backstack entry it is a view model store owner. So when we go to create the view model, we can pass the view model store owner, we can pass a backstack entry through as that. This can be null, so what we'll do is surround it by a let. And since this is a private class, it won't be able to initialize the view model for us, but we can just simply pass our own initializer. So now we have this view model. We can just set it here to use the title from that. But at the moment we don't have a way to provide the title from anywhere. So we need to create a provide function. All this will take in is a composable that we'll name title. So similar to what we did up here, we need to get a view model store owner, and we can get that from local view model store owner .current. Now this will end up being the nav backstack entry, but we can check for that. So if it's able to be casted to that, we can use a let and create the view model in a similar way. So it'll get the view model if it exists. Now every time a new title is passed through, we want to set it to the view model, so we can use a launched effect for that. Now that should be everything we need. So to use this provide app bar title, we go to any screen that is within the nav host. We can use provide app bar title, and here we can simply just set cat. So if I let this run example 2 now, it hasn't worked. When I've copied it, it's using the example 1 screens. Okay, that should be fine. Yep, as you can see, we've got cats now. So similarly, in the cat detail screen, we can use provide app bar title, and straight away we can just pass in cat.name because we already have the cat here. This again in practice will probably be through a view model, but we're just getting it here, and straight away we can just call cat.name. As you see, there it is. Now for navigation and actions, we can just do something very similar. We can add them into the view model. So we can just add navigation icon and actions. The only small change with actions is it's within a row scope. So we can do it like that, so we have access to the row scope when we're providing the actions. But we can just copy this it can be cleaned up, but it's small enough where I think it's fine that we just copy this across. So in here, we'll just change this to update the navigation icon instead of the title. Same thing for the actions. So that should be okay in setup. Oh, this is the row scope. And up here, we can set them in the same way. So now if we go back to the details screen, we can provide a navigation icon. We'll just take from this example, and we will pass this back as high as we can. So passing this up. Here we can just use nav controller pop back stack. We should see that in the details screen now. And it's the same thing for the actions bar. I can show that too. If we just add, let's just create a counter. In the actions, we'll just provide an icon button that increments the counter. Let's use add. And down here, we'll just display a counter with the value. And we'll run that, and we should see that the actions are being provided. Yep, so you can see it up here. When I click this, the counter is increasing, and this action is now only applied to this screen.